Over this past summer, we all paid record-high prices at the gas pump, and to some families, just the simple necessity of filling up their tank became a financial burden. This realization that there has to be a more affordable source has led many scientists to re-examine previous sources of fuel. In the U.S., 86% of energy consumption comes from fossil fuels.
Coal is one of the least expensive forms of fuel. The only problem with coal is the amount of pollution that is produced. Coal has to be burnt in order to use it. One of the byproducts of coal, though, is CO2, which gets released into the atmosphere and only adds to our problem of global warming.
Coal is a non-renewable fuel source made of carbon and hydrocarbons. One piece of coal can take millions of years to produce. Coal is formed when peat is altered by time and pressure. Peat comes from wet, swampy areas where plant and animal debris can greatly accumulate over time. As the peat continues to become buried, then the heat forms the hydrocarbon rings, which then become coal.
The chemical composition of coal includes 6 rings of carbon joined together in complex layers that contain hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sulfur. The one thing scientists are concerned with is the concentration of sulfur and nitrogen, because they can cause acid rain if there's too much. Uncontrolled emissions have resulted in damage in forests and lakes throughout the US, Canada, and Europe.
A main thing that scientists and engineers are now researching is the desulfurization of waste particles by acid treatment. This process works by managing the waste particles by treating them with either carbonic, hydrochloric, or acetic acid, and the desulfurization rate is increased by the acid treatment. This process even costs less than the original process of using limestone.
The greening of coal is a major step that would allow our nation's biggest fuel source to become more economic, as well as not produce as much toxic emissions. This project can be taken on by not burning coal, but extracting hydrogen from water molecules. This is done by taking carbon from the coal and using the formula water plus carbon yields hydrogen plus carbon monoxide, and the carbon monoxide produces the energy needed for the process and had 38% left as a byproduct. This carbon monoxide can easily be consumed by creating carbon dioxide and be favorably disposed without harming the environment. Therefore, hydrogen is produced without burning the coal, and the excess CO2 emission is avoided, thus saving our atmosphere.
Since this process still uses the carbon in the coal, and since coal is a non-renewable resource, we should try and shift our dependence to more renewable fuel sources. States in the United States are currently completing renewable portfolio standards, which set standards to make sure that certain percentages of electricity are from renewable resources. The possible sources include wind, solar, hydroelectric energy, geothermal, and biomass. Each specific state has to evaluate which sources they have available.
The process described earlier can be used with biomass fuels instead of coal. Biomass is the use of dead plants and animals. This organic resource is also renewable. Biomass is solar energy stored in organic materials. Biomass, in 2002, provided 3% of the energy used in the United States, but 47% of the renewable energy consumed. The first biomass station in the United States is located in Burlington, Vermont, McNeil Power, built in 1998. They used biomass gasification to convert local waste products and wood into over 50 megawatts of power.
Coal is an extremely important fuel source in the world, and making it more environmentally friendly will provide less CO2 emissions into the atmosphere and thus protecting our children for generations to come.